Good afternoon, and welcome to this live, interactive telephone town hall with Pennsylvania Labor and Industry Secretary Jerry Alexiac and UC Benefits Policy Director Susan Dickinson. My name is Dirk, and I'll be the moderator today. The goal of this event is to provide you with helpful information and to answer your questions, as well as update you on Pennsylvania's unemployment benefits programs during the COVID-19 pandemic. As I mentioned, this is an interactive forum, and we would love to hear from you. We'll be taking as many questions from participants as we possibly can live during this event. If you have a question, you can press *3 on your phone keypad at any time, and you'll be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff. They'll take down your name and where you're calling from. The next time you hear your name, you will be live on the call and able to ask your question directly. If you're streaming the event on our website, you can simply type your name and question below the streaming player. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can this afternoon. Again, to ask a question, please press *3 on your telephone keypad. As mentioned, we receive a lot of questions on these live events, so if we're not able to get to your question, please send us an email at uchelp@pa.gov. Let's begin with opening remarks from Secretary Alexiac.
Thank you, Dirk, and thank you to those of you who are on the call today. We appreciate your involvement. This is, I believe, the 6th town hall that we've done, and as I said all along, we are happy to get the information out, and we learn something every time we do these. So thank you for being here. A couple of quick things. We have in the payments that we've made, we crossed the $22 billion mark in our total payments for traditional unemployment compensation plus the pandemic unemployment assistance, the extra $600 through FPUC, and the extended benefits program through CARES and through the Commonwealth. We understand, of course, as we say all along, that it doesn't help if you are one of the ones who have not received benefits yet, and we know that people can be frustrated by getting through, but we have, just again, to put some things in perspective, we've answered 222,000 calls since the mitigation efforts, the emergency declaration began, over 500,000 emails since those efforts began, and over 104,000 chats. So we are responding to people as quickly as we can. We've said before, we've brought on additional staff. We're in the process of training 2 outside vendors that we were able to get some clearance from the federal government to allow that to happen. And we are improving on those numbers every day. One thing that we want you to be aware of, yesterday, Secretary Teresa Miller from the Department of Human Services and I did a media event to remind everyone that the FPUC, the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program, is ending the end of July, and that is the extra $600. The claim week ending July 25th will be the last $600 payment that claimants receive. If you're still waiting on payments from April 4th through July 25th, you will receive them, and you will be made whole. This is a federal program. This is not a decision that we are making as the Department of Labor and Industry, or that the legislature or the governor of Pennsylvania is making. This is part of the CARES program, and that's why the ending date is July 25th. There is some talk in Washington of extending those benefits, but it's very early in the process, and we'll see where that goes. On the immediate call yesterday, Secretary Miller listed a lot of different programs available through DHS: Medicaid, the CHIP program, the Children's Health Program, SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, LIHEAP, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, and TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. There are also some, they're always available, but there are also some specific programs in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. If you've experienced some issues with your benefits, you can go to, related to COVID-19, you can go to this website, Compass, COMPASS, state to see what benefits may be available there. Also, if you were laid off due to COVID-19 and haven't returned to work yet and are no longer receiving health coverage, you can visit the Pennsylvania Insurance Department at www.insurance.pa.gov to learn more about programs available there and COBRA, which you may also be for. There are also other resources for Pennsylvania at www.pa.gov, and those include financial help, mental health resources, mortgage information, food assistance, and more. So there are opportunities out there for people to get the assistance they may need. I'm going to turn it over now to Susan Dickinson to provide some other updates on some of the other things we have going on. Susan?
Thank you, Secretary. I'm actually going to repeat the last thing you said, only because I couldn't hear you. I think you were cutting out a little bit there. So just in case anyone missed it, the resources for Pennsylvanians, which is mental health resources, financial help, mortgage and rent information, food assistance, and more, is at www.pa.gov. So moving on, sure. Moving on to our different unemployment programs and, the latest in each. The Extended Benefit Program has started this week. For anyone who has been filing on PEUC and you've run out of benefits as of this past Sunday at the earliest when you were filing, we started setting up EB claims yesterday. So that means you will be receiving a financial determination in the mail, probably, I would imagine, next week. I know because it's a holiday week, I'm sure the post office is also shut down on at least one day. So you'll receive financial determinations in the mail next week, which, explain to you what your weekly benefit amount is and what your maximum benefit amount is. And also, there will be some people who are ineligible for the program because of what we call a 1.5 times test. That means you need whatever your highest quarter was in your regular UC base year wages, whatever the highest quarter was, you need 1.5 times that in your benefit year in order to qualify. Very few people are disqualified for this reason, but it's possible. So, be watching the mail for your financial determination as that gets set up. And for individuals who, still have yet to file, maybe this coming Sunday is your filing date for PEUC. It's a rolling basis. So whenever someone from this point forward finishes their PEUC claim and their balance goes to zero, about 2 days later is when the EB claim gets set up, and the financial determination usually gets printed the following day after that, and then you'll receive it in a couple days after that. Separately from that, the continued claims filing. So let's talk about how it's going to work on the EB program. On regular UC and PEUC, you're used to filing every 2 weeks. It's biweekly filing. For anyone who's on PUA, you're used to filing weekly. So for the EB program, it can be weekly. It's up to you. If you're comfortable and you have it on your calendar that you want to file every 2 weeks, you can keep doing that. The weeks will be available in that manner. If you are interested in filing each week, you can do that as well. So this coming weekend on Sunday, the week ending July 4th will be available for anyone who finished PEUC with the prior week. So you're welcome to go online as early as Sunday. Of course, you have all week. And then you can file your first weekly claim for extended benefits. So that's, again, on our website, www.uc.pa.gov. And you will log in the same place that you do for UC and PEUC. It's the same login using the same PIN. That'll take you in. And then there will be a button there that says, file claims for extended benefits. So once you click on that, it'll offer you weeks. It won't offer you any future weeks because, of course, it's against the law to pay unemployment compensation in advance of a week. The week has to be over, and you have to certify that you are unemployed for the week, and then we can make payments. So people who do not have online access, what's going to happen is when your financial determination gets to you, it's going to have instructions there that you can request paper mail claims, and there's an address where you will mail those mail claims every week or every other week if you choose. And what we're asking is if you send a request to that mailing address up front to say, hey, I would like mail claims, please send me mail claims. And so what we will do is we will then send you mail claims. Of course, online is faster and easier simply because it's electronic, but we understand some people do not have internet access and will need mail claims. Mail claims are generated for extended benefits 4 claims at a time. And of course, they're generated in advance. So be very careful not to fill them out as soon as you get them and send them back. You cannot claim benefits in advance. If you do that, we will send it back to you and we cannot process the claim. You're going to have to refile the week all over again. So, you hold on to your mail claims and you can mail them every week if you choose, or you could mail them, 2 at a time. You'll always have 4 at a time, so you'll never be able to mail 4 at a time unless you held on for them all for some reason. But in any case, that is how continuing claims works for extended benefits, and payments will be made the same way that they were made on PEUC. So however you are receiving your payments on that is how you'll receive payments here as well. Moving on to the Pua system, the big fixes that we had done in the past weeks have been complete. There's still individuals who we have to work on manually one at a time because of the situations they're in. But we had, weeks made available for people who needed back weeks. And we had some payments released when people were answering the disaster question incorrectly. So the major things have been done, and now there's a lot of smaller issues that affect individuals, but smaller groups of individuals. For example, we're fixing our financial determinations. Some people have requested increases in their weekly benefit amount and are sending us the proof to do that and get a higher rate. So we want to process them. Our financial determination needs some adjusting, so our vendor is doing that for us, as well as non-monetary determinations. So if you had mentioned something in your application, whether it be the initial application or your weekly applications that raised an issue and we have to issue a determination to you, we're making sure those are adjusted so that we can issue you your determinations, and you can either get paid then, or if it's a denial, at least then you will have that determination to know that you can appeal if you choose. The Pua debit cards, we had originally received information from Pennsylvania Treasury saying that they expected all the debit cards to be issued and in everyone's hands by June. It was either 29th or 30th, but they did tell us early this week that date is pushed. So July 7th, which is Tuesday of next week, is when they expect individuals to have debit cards on or about that date if you did not receive your debit card yet. So again, that was about a week, an additional week added on to their target date for receiving a debit card. So if you're an individual who has not received your debit card yet and you're wondering what's going on, give it till next week, and next week you should have your card from U.S. Bank Relia card. And then, of course, at that point, your payments are a lot easier. It's much better than receiving paper checks. You'll just get it electronically. Another reminder, the Secretary mentioned that FPUC is ending. That's the additional $600. That is the week ending July 25th is the last week where there will be a $600 payment attached to it. So if you're paid for July 25th, even if you're paid next month, the month after that, let's say we're holding on to that week because you have an eligibility issue and we determine you're eligible, or let's say we deny you and you go to a referee hearing and they approve you, whenever that week is paid, it could be months from now, you're still going to receive the $600. So the $600 is tied to the date of the claim week, not when we actually make the payment to you. So that is a federal program, FPUC. So, there is no extension that Pennsylvania can do. But if we do hear of a law being enacted, which extends it, we will put information on our website. So if it's simply one entity passing the law, but another one not agreeing, et cetera, we won't have any information on our website at that point. But once a law is enacted and we're actually taking the steps to make it happen, that's when we will put information on our website about that. And one last note on regular UC, well, any program really. I'll talk a little bit about troubleshooting. And so we do have a troubleshooting guide we've mentioned before that's on our website, www.uc.pa.gov. And if you click on our frequently asked questions for claimants, the guide there has multiple categories, and it explains, if I haven't received my payment, why not? Or I haven't received my PIN, why not? And there's a whole bunch of suggestions there on what might be going on if you're in one of those situations. So I highly recommend reviewing that. As we are looking at claims, especially older claims, maybe claims from April who haven't been paid yet, and we're getting through those, we are finding there is just a lot of misunderstanding on how the unemployment process works. For example, there's several individuals, not just a few, that we're finding they're expecting to receive a benefit, but they're actually working part-time, reporting their earnings, and it turns out that their earnings are excessive. There's only so much earnings you can have in a week, and then you're not considered unemployed anymore, and you don't have a benefit coming your way. So, read up on our website. Our website is very extensive, but it does have a lot of good information. There is a search function, so you can search for what it is you're looking for. So if you're, in that boat where you're working and earning part-time wages and just correctly reporting that to us, it is possible you may be earning too much, and that would be why you're not receiving a benefit. Another example is individuals saying when they're filing weekly or biweekly claims saying that they're not unemployed or that they're working full-time. And that's fine, but even if it is for just a week, and let's say you're unemployed the following week or partially unemployed the following week, that's a situation where you have to actually reopen your claim. Once you are working full-time, even if it is just for a week, that's considered like the end of your unemployment period, and your claim is kind of, I don't want to say closed at that point, but if it helps to think of it that way. So if you need benefits the following week, you then have to reopen your claim so that we know that you're unemployed again. And of course, we ask the question, it's pretty much our same initial application. And we ask, why are you separated now? So we have to look at that and see why it is, you were employed last week, but now you're not employed anymore. So in any case, I also want to remind individuals that as you go along with UC, because we're kind of getting to the point where a lot of people who may have opened UC claims at the beginning of the pandemic will be running out of benefits in the next month or two. That is another, for especially those who have 18-week claims. The PEUC program will set up automatically as soon as your benefits are exhausted. And if your benefit year ends, so this would be someone who, opened their claim about a year ago. If your benefit year ends, that's when you have to actually submit an application online. But if your benefit year is still active, and they are active for 1 year, then you will roll directly onto PEUC, which is a 13-week benefit. And then after that, you will roll on to EB if you're still unemployed and if we're still in an extended benefits period. So I think those are all the updates I have today, so we can get to the questions.
Okay, Susan, our first question comes from Jamie, who joins us now on the line. Jamie, go ahead with your question.
Okay, so basically from listening to the town hall meeting 2 weeks ago on June 18th, I heard that individuals with penalty weeks can be eligible for PUA. However, I applied for PUA. I went on to speak to somebody. They suspended it because they said I have an active UC claim. They said they have no record of anybody with penalty weeks being eligible for PUA. Is there any way I can obtain proof that I'm in fact eligible for PUA since I have penalty weeks? Can it be emailed me maybe to jamieparks52@yahoo.com? Or, any other way of communication?
Hi, Jamie. Yeah, it sounds like the individual you spoke with probably was not aware of this. We actually did get information out to all staff earlier this week about the penalty weeks being I don't want to say a non-issue, but, allowing someone to be able to file for a PUA claim. So you are correct, and we are actually getting information out to anyone who has served a penalty week or is serving penalty weeks during the pandemic to make sure that they know what their instructions are going to be, because it'll be a very strange situation, something we've never done before, where a person has to file on two claims at once. Usually that's a bad thing. Usually that's fraud, and we tell people don't file on two claims at once. But in this case, this is a very special situation. If someone has a penalty week, they need to file for the penalty week at the same time they're filing for a benefit on the other claim. So we are gathering that information to send out to everyone so they know exactly what to do. It sounds like in your case, and you may have spoken with the PUA staff, we'll make sure that they know. We'll send another reminder that penalty weeks are not an issue. They're not a reason to stop a PUA claim, and we'll see if we can get that rectified.
Thank you for that answer, Susan. And just a quick reminder to everyone on the call, this is a public call, and we ask that you not share personal information just because, again, it is personal. So since this is a public call, just refrain from blurting out personal information, please. But we certainly are here to try and help. And moving on to our next call, we've got Joanne on the line with us. Go ahead, Joanne.
Yes, hi. Thank you for taking my call. I'm on PEUC. 2 weeks ago, I finally was able to file, and I had a representative also call me and file back until the beginning of April and release my payments, which everything came through. Now, on Sunday was my last biweekly filing, and I haven't received anything yet, and I know that the extended benefits haven't been set up. I don't know if I need to call and have those payments manually released again, or I'm not really sure what to do at this point, because it is Thursday, so thank you.
Hi, Joanne. It is hard without being able to see your claim to see what the issue is. If weeks were paid on Sunday, typically they are in accounts by Wednesday. It is hard to say without actually looking and being able to see what's going on. If there is some sort of an issue that was raised, if you had said maybe you weren't able and available, that's a common mistake a lot of people make. I'm sorry there's no more direct answer, but, with it just being an additional day, it's not, a red flag quite yet. I will, speaking of red flags, mention, and I'm not saying this is necessarily applies to you, but it does remind me, I talked about this a lot last week on the town hall, how the PUA fraud was affecting people on other benefit programs because they were fraudsters were changing your direct deposit information to their own information. Now that did stop 2 weeks ago, so if you have received a payment in the last 2 weeks, then that would not apply to you. Anyone else who may have previous to 2 weeks ago stopped receiving payment suddenly, that could be a possibility that fraudulent claim was filed under your Social Security number. But in this case, if you don't receive a payment by, say, tomorrow, there may be an eligibility issue on your claim. I can't think of any other reason why a payment would not be made. So in that case, someone may be reaching out to you if there's an eligibility issue. If you do want to just check the status of your payment and, see if it was actually issued, there is a spot on our website to look at your last payments, your most recent 2 payments. You can go to our website, and it's called Benefit Payment Inquiry, and you can just search for it in our search bar, or I think there's links there from our Frequently Asked Questions page, and you can look and just see if the last 2 weeks were actually issued. And if they, were not, you can get a hold of us. I know it's difficult. And, usually our call centers are very busy early in the week. It's better to call later in the week. And actually, it's good to use chat. I know a lot of people do have trouble getting through to chat. We actually did just get a chat upgrade yesterday that makes it a little easier to use on your phone if you're using it mobile. And there's a lot more staff. As we bring on more staff, they're able to help us with chat. So it does get better with time. And so if you've tried it in the past and you haven't tried it lately, you might want to give it another shot. And also, if you do get through on the chat line, it's never more than a 5-minute wait. Chat is always a very short wait, so it makes it worth it. We also did an upgrade so that we no longer need a chat code from you. It's all encrypted, so we can just deal with everyone real time. For those of you who have used chat, you know what I'm talking about with the chat code. You had to get a hold of us by phone first to get a chat code, and then you can chat with us. But now that we've done the upgrade, you don't have to get a hold of us by a phone first. You can just go straight into chat, and we can help anybody who contacts us that way. So that would be my advice to you.
So our next question comes from online, and Wendy wonders, is the pandemic unemployment insurance ending if you return to work but at reduced hours? None of the 10 answers from which to choose when filing a claim applies to working reduced hours due to COVID-19.
Hi, Wendy. That's a great question, and the answer depends on the reason for the reduction in hours. So this is where it is getting confusing and tricky for a lot of people. And we are, as a side note, we are having our vendor add an additional reason to those lists of reasons, and that's especially for independent contractors and gig workers who have reduced business as a direct result of COVID-19. So that should be going in soon. I don't know exactly when that'll be added to the list. In the meantime, you just can pick the one that best describes your situation. I know there's one in there that says, business closed. There's a couple other that deal with medical issues. So out of those 10 reasons, you would pick the best one, and if you're eligible based on there being a direct COVID-19 related reason that you're not working or working reduced hours. So what I mean by that is the program was set up specifically for individuals being affected by restrictions because of COVID-19 or illness because of COVID-19. So if someone's unemployment is now due to a simple lack of work, like let's say it's a business where there's just not a lot of business now because people are staying home, but there's no restrictions on your business, then that isn't really a Pua acceptable reason, and you may not be eligible anymore. But if the reason for reduced business is because there are restrictions, let's say you have a certain space for your physical location, and you're limited to having only a certain number of people in there, and you have to turn people away, and you're turning business away, that is a direct COVID restriction related reason for having a Pua claim. So it is quite tricky. We get this question a lot. And that's the key in your mind is just, is it just a simple lack of work? There's people not interested in the business or something along those lines? Or is there an actual restriction being placed on you that's prompting this unemployment? The restriction is COVID-19 related reason. So if you do have restrictions like that are preventing you from being fully employed, you would just want to pick the best answer in that list. And, eventually we will be adding that additional answer, and that might fit a lot of people's situation better than the 10 that are there right now.
All right, Joyce writes in, she's a sole proprietor receiving Pua. She's also been approved for a Paycheck Protection Program loan. Can she wait until her Pua runs out and then pay herself with the PPP funds?
Hi, Joyce. So that is up to you. And I know that the PPPs, I'm certainly not a PPP expert, but I know that there are certain restrictions and guidelines around how you can use and when you can use those as well. So you just have to not use them in the same week, unemployment and PPP, or rather, I'll put it this way, the PPP is the same as wages. So if you're paying yourself PPP for any week, you would report that to us as wages when you file your weekly claim. So, if, of course, a lot of people I've heard from others that, there's an 8-week period that they're just going to pay themselves full salary from the PPP. So, for those weeks, they're not unemployed, they're going to get their full salary, and they aren't even going to file, which is fine. And then if they're still unemployed for a COVID-related reason after those 8 weeks are over, they can reopen their PUA claim at that point and continue filing just as long as they're still unemployed for a direct COVID-19 related reason. So, the manner in which you do it is up to you, but it is considered wages. So, depending on how much you are paying yourself, and then, of course, you have to look at the financial determination we gave you to see what your different limits are on how much you can earn. You can make the decision yourself. And I will quickly remind everyone how earnings works. When you look at your financial determination, and this is whether you're on PUA or regular UC or PEUC, it all works the same. When you look at your financial determination, there's a weekly benefit amount. That's the general amount that you'll get if you're completely unemployed each week and you didn't work at all. And then there is a partial benefit credit, which is 30% of your weekly benefit amount. And then there's a third number called the combination rate. So if you add the weekly benefit amount and you add that 30% partial benefit credit, you come up with the combination rate. So what that combination rate represents is if you're working at all, you're going to report your wages to us. And for that week, we look at your combination rate, and then we subtract what it is you reported to us, and you would get the difference. So, if your combination rate is something like, let's say, $700, and you make $800 in the week, you're not going to be eligible for a benefit that week because you had excessive earnings. It was in excess of the combination rate. So that is how that works. It's a simple math equation, and it'll be different for everyone. Everyone has different rates. And of course, individuals who are traditional employees are to report their gross wages to us, whereas self-employed individuals are to report their net wages to us. So I hope that helps paint the picture.
Another question from online comes from Ronald. He asks, how can he correct an error he made in a past weekly certification?
Hi, Ronald. So if you did make an error, it likely, and I'm assuming you haven't received payment, which is probably why you're asking, the staff person, it would be on a list somewhere where a staff person is going to reach out to you and ask for more information. So depending on the error, now the only time that they might not is, for example, if you reported a certain amount of earnings, but it was actually different earnings. Of course, we wouldn't know that. In that case, you could just send us an email, and we'll be able to fix it when we get to the email. But if it is something, for example, you said that you weren't able and available, but really you were, there's really no way to fix it per se. Someone will just be reaching out to you and asking about it. Why weren't you able and available? And that way you could tell them, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. So if it is, the first case where it is something that we're not aware of that you need to fix, you can either just drop us an email Try live chat, which is open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, with the exception of tomorrow because tomorrow we're closed for a holiday, and same with the phones. But usually the phones, if you're going to try our 888-313-7284 number, that is usually better Thursdays and Fridays than it is Mondays and Tuesdays.
All righty. Let's go back to a live caller. We've got Michelle joining us now. Michelle, go ahead. What is your question?
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I'm a school custodian who holds a 12-month full-time position at a Christian high school. My last day of working was March 13th due to the closure. I filed my claim, and then I received my PIN number, and then the next day I received a financial determination saying that I'm not eligible due to my wages not being reported. I filled out an appeal for that on May 15th. The same day I received the letter, and I still have not heard anything. What should I do? Should I continue to wait for an answer, or should I file under PUA?
Hi, Michelle. It does sound like you might be eligible for PUA. First, you would want to wait for the response, though. If you filed an appeal, especially in that situation, they're probably looking at it as a missing wages situation, which is true, but the little tidbit of information you gave there is that you worked for a religious-based high school, and a lot of religious institutions aren't covered employment in Pennsylvania. So, of course, right now, the PUA program does cover individuals in that circumstance. So, once the staff is able to look at the situation you're in, if there's no wages on file and that's what your determination said, I'm guessing that your employer is one that is, not covered wages and exempt in Pennsylvania. So in that case, you will be filing a PUA claim because that is a separate program, and that is, an acceptable employer to be able to file a PUA claim and get PUA benefits.
Next up, we've got Michael joining us. Yes. Michael, go ahead with your question, sir.
Yes, I work in the food and beverage industry, and my job is event-driven. And I'm worried about after my 39 weeks and if unemployment will be extended like it's done in the past, like the 99 weeks things.
Sure. Hi, Michael. There is, and right now, after the 26 basic weeks are over, regular UC, and then there's the 13 weeks of PEUC. There's an additional 13 weeks of extended benefits, which is starting now. This is actually the first payable week of that program. So individuals will be filing this Sunday for this week, and that'll be the first time. So once the extended benefits program is over, then that would be the end of benefits right now, unless there is an additional federal extension, which, that covers, for example, the PEUC program. You alluded to the 99 weeks 10 years ago. I remember it well. There was 4 different tiers of PEUC. So instead of 13 weeks, there was multiple tiers of multiple varying numbers of weeks that were involved in that program. Right now there's just one tier, one block of 13 weeks, and it's pretty simple at this point. So that would be, an extension of the CARES Act, something else that they enact that goes along with the CARES Act that would then make that available. Prior, we had been saying, PUA was available for anyone who has exhausted all the other kinds of benefits. But of course, now that we have the extended benefits coming into play, most individuals who finish UC and PEUC and EB will likely not have any eligibility left on PUA, and that's because the law requires us to subtract from the maximum PUA amount, which is 39 weeks, subtract any regular UC and extension that you get from it. So the 39 weeks minus 26 UC weeks minus 13 extended benefit weeks leaves everyone with 0.
So PUA is no longer an option for most people. The only people who may qualify are those who are denied financially on EB. I'm sorry, not regular EC. If you get that 1.5 times denial, depending on the number of weeks you've been eligible for before, you may qualify for benefits.
All right, next question comes from Bella, who joins us on the phone. Bella, go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, thank you, team, to pick up my phone. My question is representing, I believe, is a group of PUA people who got approved and mistakenly filed their first weeks, got notice of losing job as their benefits and got approved. I filed their first 2 weeks and it noticed that the first week was a full time, so it prevents me to file the rest of the week from the third and the after. I tried to file applications to reopen the case and also follow the instruction to email the back days, and also try to follow another town hall was having the last Social Security's number to file the missed week, but none of them is work. However, I heard that, and everybody knows that the CARE Act, the 600 extra benefits will be ending soon, and some people like us have no solution for filing the claim, are all unable to claim this the CARE Act 600 additional each week. So is the state or the department will do anything to help us to get these health benefits before the end, because we are not able to file the claim, so we don't know how can we get it. Thank you.
Hi, Bella. Thank you, and I love your name. That's my niece's name as well. One of the things I heard you say was that you had requested backdating. So that might actually be what's holding up your claim. When we were the past several weeks, talking about individuals who couldn't go backward and file on back weeks that they had missed on PUA, where the system wasn't, offering the week for them to file. We did an across-the-board fix where people could go in based on their Social Security number and file those back weeks. And we originally had something like 56,000 people who were in this predicament, and we're down by the end of the run that we did to probably, I think it was less than 5,000. So it might have even been less than 1,000. But there is a whole separate issue that was created for individuals who requested backdating on their dashboard. That is a different issue. Backdating, what a backdating request is you're saying that the effective date of your claim, so the date when your claim is opened, you're asking for the effective date of your claim to be moved backwards in time from where it is. So that wasn't really filing for back weeks. That was a completely separate request. Of course, you're not the only one. There's a lot of people who are in that boat who thought it might fix that issue, so they requested backdating. But what that did was it froze your claim so that it's now on a list waiting for staff to approve your backdating request to allow you to go in and file for those weeks. And we really did receive tens of thousands of backdating requests, so it is taking a very long time to get through them. For the most part, if it's back weeks through mid-March, the staff can approve it quickly. And I believe, I'm not totally sure, but I believe there is a message sent through your dashboard. If not, there might be an email that comes from our Pua email account to you saying that, you've been approved and now your weeks are open for filing. For anyone who requested backdating through February, because Pennsylvania didn't really shut down until March 13th, we do have to look specifically and contact those individuals and just make sure, why is it you're requesting weeks back that far, because we didn't have the pandemic shutdowns yet. So those take a little bit more time. So someone will be, if you did hit that backdating button and make the request, someone will be getting to you. It is just taking some time. And of course, if you are curious and want to know where it is or what's going on, you can always send an email to ucpua at pa.gov. It's not necessary because, you are on the list somewhere on the backdating list, but, if you just wanted to check on a status, you could do that.
All right, we're going to segue back to a couple of online questions, and our first one comes from Audrey, who was approved for UC and received a few weeks of payments. Then they stopped, even though Audrey made all biweekly claims on time. Is this because she put a return to work date on the initial application that has since been postponed indefinitely?
Audrey, that is a good question, and that could be the issue. We were, for a while at the beginning of the pandemic, removing people's return to work dates because we figured they were null and void. But at some point, we did stop doing that because people could have legitimate return to work dates. So if you have passed a return to work date that you had supplied to us, it's likely that you do need to get in touch with us and say, no, I did not return to work. And it's good that you are filing your weeks. That way we have them on record, and when you do get a hold of us, we can release all those payments at the same time. As long as there's no other issues or anything on your claim, we can release all of those at once. So we did remove return to work dates, I believe, through the end of May, but then past May we kept them on. So depending on when it was, that could definitely be the issue on your claim.
All right, Christopher writes in, as a self-employed individual, can I still claim Pua benefits following June 5th when I was, again, able to access my office? And do you report earnings on work completed prior to the shutdown but not received until after the shutdown?
So when it comes to the PUA benefits and when to claim them and when to file, you can be eligible for benefits for the weeks in which you were unemployed. So even if it's past the fact, we've had a lot of people ask us that question. They said, well, I've been trying to get in touch with you for 2 months and I couldn't, but now I'm back to work. So what do I do? What matters is the weeks you were unemployed. So you can still be paid for the weeks you were unemployed. Of course, you can't be paid for weeks now if you're working full time, but we can always, especially because of the nature of the pandemic and how much work we, had piled on, we will be, backdating and making everyone whole, going backward for weeks when they were partially or fully unemployed. And, in the world of unemployment, everything is tied to a claim week. So every claim week runs Sunday through Saturday. And everything regarding your eligibility on a week-to-week basis is tied to that claim week. So when it comes to reporting earnings, regardless if you're self-employed or traditional employee, I mentioned earlier self-employed report net earnings, traditional employee report gross earnings. But no matter which category you're in, you're going to report your earnings based on when you earned them, not when you were paid for them. So when you're filing your weekly or biweekly claims, you're going to put in your earnings that you had for the week that you're claiming from Sunday through Saturday, any earnings that you had in that time. And I realize that's difficult. Individuals who are self-employed are like, well, how do I do that? I don't even know, especially if you own, a little antique shop and maybe you didn't exactly work hours, but you made some sales. And, there's all different little scenarios people have given us. How do I report it in this situation? But it really boils down to you have to look at the physical work that you did that week, whether it be something that you did in the shop, something that you did from home, whatever it was you were doing for your business, however many hours that is, and you kind of have to assign based on, maybe it is based on a certain sale you're going to make, depends on the nature of your business. Based on those hours, you kind of have to assign how much that was worth in earnings. If you're working, it's definitely not worth zero. You do have to assign, a reasonable value to it. You have to make a good faith effort here. I mean, there's not going to be a certain amount that we're going to be able to say you must have claimed because we don't know your business. And of course, especially if you're someone who's self-employed, we also don't know your aside from your earnings, we don't know your expenses. So you're providing to us your net earnings. So you just have to do the best. The best thing you can do is keep records of it, though. Whatever you're reporting to us, keep a record of how you came to that number and what you've decided to report to us. Just, if we ever did ask, you can show your justification as to why you chose what you chose.
All right, now back to callers. We've got Diana joining us now. Diana, go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. The reason I'm calling, my husband applied for unemployment in March. We've never received any benefits at all. My question is, he did receive a PIN number and an eligibility letter. We do have a card that was from a prior unemployment. It was never, it was never activated, and he had a direct deposit then. My question is, could the earnings be on that card, and should it be activated?
Hi, Diana. Yes, it is possible that the that the payments are on that card. The debit cards are good for 3 years. So you can just activate the card and check it. And if there's any amounts that are missing, it sounded like none of it has gone to your regular bank account. So if that's true and there are any amounts missing, you'd want to contact us. If you do have some in your bank account and it just seems like the amounts on the Relia card aren't correct, you may need to contact the debit card company. But it should be, as long as it was in a claim in the last 3 years, that card is still active. So you'd want to just activate it and see. If not, and if there are no benefits on the card, then it could be an eligibility issue. Depending on the status of his last claim, that could be what holds up benefits. If he had any type of denial on his last claim, he may not be eligible yet, or we may not be aware that he's eligible yet. When someone's denied for certain reasons, they have to work and earn 6 times their weekly benefit amount to purge that denial. So if he had a denial and he hasn't purged it yet, that could be why he's not getting benefits. Or maybe he has purged it, but we don't know about it. He would have to tell us and say, yes, that he did earn 6 times his weekly benefit amount, and then his benefits could start again. So those are some of the things that come to mind that could be affecting the benefits.
All right, we've got Tracy joining us next. Tracy, you're live. What is your question?
Yes, hi. Thanks for taking my call. I was wondering, how do we get our back pay from the federal government, the $600, if we originally filed and was asked to refile?
Hi, Tracy. I'm wondering if I'd heard several. I don't remember if it was several weeks ago or months now at this point. There was some issue where people were being asked to file their initial claim again, and on the PUA program, for some reason it was, and I can't even remember what the issue was, but the system wasn't recognizing them and having them file a new initial claim. So when you say, it asked you to file again, that's what comes to mind. I'm assuming that's what kind of happened. Or more recently, we had, as I mentioned earlier last week, we were trying to catch up all the individuals who have not been able to file for their back weeks. And so in doing so, some people were being offered weeks to file, which were weeks that were already paid, which was interesting. And so, of course, if you've been already paid for a week, payment's not going to generate to you again. You only, get the one payment for the week. So if you're talking about continued claims and you tried filing, last week and you just refiled for the same week, you wouldn't receive any payment for that. It's kind of hard to say, what the situation is, but the $600 gets issued at the same time as the regular payment. On the Pua program, the regular UC program, for anyone listening from regular UC, is different. We make the $600 payments completely separate from the regular payments. On the Pua program, it's issued the same day. It's still a separate payment, but when you receive your regular PUA payment, you also receive the $600. So I would recommend going in and looking at your dashboard and just seeing which weeks have been paid, and those would have the $600 attached to that. Plus, if there are any back weeks you still need to file, no matter when you file them, you will still receive the $600 just as long as the week is, prior to July 25th. So that $600 is attached to the claim week, and it depends on the claim week date. It doesn't depend on when we actually make the payment. So if, just review your dashboard and just make sure that all the weeks are caught up and all of those $600 payments should be made. If they're not, of course, send us an email to ucpua@pa.gov. If there is some sort of an issue, we would definitely want to help you with it. We would want to know about it in case it's affecting anyone else to make sure that we're getting those payments out to everybody.
So I'm being told we have time for just one more question, and we've got Bonnie joining us now. Bonnie, go ahead with your question, please.
Well, thank you for taking my call. I applied for benefits in April. I have yet to receive anything other than a monetary determination. I'm a 1099 commissioned sales rep. And we were shut down on the 15th of March like everyone else and unable to work, unable to go to our business and unable to reach out to our customers, go into their businesses. So my question is, I have been trying to reach someone to find out how, if I've done something wrong in the application process, I'd like to know how to correct it. According to the weekly certifications that I finally was able to get through and file last week, it tells me that my earnings are in process, but I'm going to be receiving a partial credit for all the weeks with the exception of one, and I don't know why. And it also says there's an outstanding claim issue of refusal to work. Now, that is not the case, and I have documented all of my earnings in hard copy packets to the Taylor office. I have also uploaded into the platform, and I don't know what else to do. I just don't know where to go or who to talk to because I've been unable to reach anybody. And I've tried relentlessly. Trust me.
Hi, Bonnie. So actually, it sounds like you've prepared a lot of the right things that we need in order to resolve the issue. The one piece that may be missing is the communications piece. You mentioned the Taylor office. That office is not actually processing PUA claims. The PUA claims are processed by a completely separate set of people. And when you upload things to your dashboard, there's no notice or anything that the system sends us that you've done that. So if anyone uploads anything to their dashboard and we need to look at it for you, you should then separately send an email to the UC PUA account so that we know that something is there and that you're trying to resolve this and are providing the proof that's needed. Otherwise, we won't know that the proof is sitting there. And you had mentioned a refusal to work issue. That would have been one of the questions in the initial application, or possibly depending on when it went on your claim, initial application, or it could be the continuing weekly application. In any case, all of the issues, when the issues go on the claims, those then get routed to a claims examiner to look at, and they generally reach out to you and ask about it, and then they'll resolve it or issue a denial. But in any case, there's a large volume right now, which is why you have probably not heard from anybody. So it sounds like you've done all the right things. You just have to, send us an email to ucpua@pa.gov to say, hey, my stuff is there. In the meantime, someone may very well, reach out to you. Your paths may cross. So then we can, resolve that issue for you, and then the payments will be made.
So we are coming to the end of this live event. I want to thank you for participating in today's L&I Town Hall. We appreciate the opportunity to speak directly with you and answer your questions. Let's get some closing comments from Secretary Alexiac.
Thank you, Dirk, and thank you to everyone on the call. Thank you, Susan, for your knowledge and expertise as here on display every week. We appreciate you reaching out. We appreciate the fact that people need and want their benefits, and we are doing what we can as quickly as we can to make sure that you get them. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jerry, and to you, Susan. For the Pennsylvania labor and industry updates, please visit www.uc.pa.gov. Once again, if we were unable to address your questions, please send an email to uchelp@pa.gov. Truly a heartfelt thank you to everyone for taking the time to participate in this call. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and have a wonderful day.